KXAN honors an Austin police officer killed in the line of duty.
It's deeply heartbreaking, tragic.
Officer Jorge Pastore killed while trying to save lives on Saturday, November 11th. His fellow officers now remembering him for his passion and his infectious personality.
You have almost no choice but to be his friend and to let him love on you.
This morning, we follow the procession and funeral services live as APD lays one of its own to rest.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jennifer Sanders. We want to take a live look right now at CODA. This is where the visitation is happening for Officer Jorge Pastore. You can see law enforcement. They are not only from Austin, they are not only from Travis County, they're not only from Williamson County, they are from around the country coming to honor their fallen comrade, Officer Jorge Pastore, who was shot in the line of duty.
What we're seeing again is that visitation that's underway at the Circuit of the Americas. There is a long line there you can see following from the right side of your screen all the way down to the stage there at the Germania Insurance Amphitheater, and officers are going up one by one to pay their respects in front of the casket containing Officer Pastore's body. We have seen Austin police officers among them, Travis County Sheriff's deputies, and likely many other different first responding agencies doing this tradition to pay their respects to him. Thank you so much again for joining us here this afternoon. The funeral service for Officer Jorge Pastore will begin here shortly. We've gotten word that it may be around 11:30, and we will carry that for you until its conclusion. Now, Officer Pastore's final patrol started at the Weed Corley Fish Funeral Home this morning, then to APD headquarters, the state capitol, and finally the Circuit of the Americas, which we've showed you just a few moments ago. That is where final respects will be paid to Officer Pastore. Now, earlier we did speak to Austin Police Association President-elect Michael Bullock about this final patrol.
It's a final way for us to show our respect. You know, we're there to, again, just honor him. It's all about making sure that we remember him appropriately. You know, we have typically there's a riderless horse, which signifies, someone that's no longer on duty, someone that's no longer on patrol. We also have 21 gun salutes. We have, all these police honors are aimed at showing our final respects for someone who's no longer able to carry on the mission.
And we're hearing more from law enforcement across not only Austin, but Travis County and Williamson County, who know Pastore closely. Austin Police Association's President-elect Michael Bullock, who you just heard from right now, he was telling us how Pastore was a medic in Florida before he came to Austin. He spoke to KXAN's Britt Moreno about that work and how it inspired him to become an officer.
He went to a shooting. And what drove him to this profession was he didn't want to be the one that had to come and try to save people after something terrible had happened. He wanted to go in and try to prevent it from happening altogether. So he was part of, and one of the primary ways that we met was through what's called a CAST team. So at APD we have it's called a Counter Assault Strike Team, CAST.
Oh, okay.
And so we exist to respond to active shooting incidents, to respond to active forms of violence. And it's a team that stood up on a regular basis that, it's not very public facing, right? We're kind of like this shadow. Like, we're always around, but we're very close. And so he was a big part of that team, and that was a big reason why he was here. That was stuff that he wanted to be a part of. And so we have these CAST teams where officers and paramedics are in the same unit. So we ride as a unit to where officers are with medics so that way we can get medics closer to people before an incident is secure. Wow. So that way medics don't have to wait. And so he was one of the biggest believers in that mission. And so, like, our program has grown. He's been a very active part of that. But that's one of the biggest callings right there.
Officer Pastore died on Saturday after responding to a SWAT call in southwest Austin. To recap what happened there, just before 3 in the morning, a woman called 911 after fleeing a home on Bernoulli Drive. She told them she'd been stabbed. Austin police officers entered the home and were fired upon. That's when they called the SWAT team. Pastore and at least one other officer went inside. They were hit by gunfire, and police say along with Pastore, 2 other victims and the suspect died. The other officer is expected to survive. He's recovering back at home now after a stint in the hospital. Police say they will release the body camera footage later this month.
And Will, let's go back to CODA. Again, visitation hours for Officer Jorge Pastore. Law enforcement from across the country, Will, we know they are from Oklahoma, they are from Florida, where Officer Pastore once served. And of course, right here in Austin, you can see many tears, many hugs. And I think they're also just very encouraged by the support of the community. You were watching the procession earlier.
What is truly amazing is to see how lengthy that procession was. Again, you mentioned all those different first responders, from law enforcement, from emergency management officials to EMS, fire department, all coming together and taking that procession for miles that went all the way from northwest Austin into downtown, all the way out to the Circuit of the Americas. They were all there along the way to show their support and their respect to Officer Pastore and his family. We also saw what was really emotional, I thought, was what took a lot of the logistics of closing down I-35, for instance, a huge thoroughfare, especially during the morning commute. But you saw the officers blocking traffic there. People stopped along the way, but they were also getting out of their vehicles to watch as that SWAT vehicle carrying Officer Pastore's casket passed by. So just a lot of respect and a lot of honors being paid to him today.
Absolutely. And Will, as you know, I mean, we've been streaming this on our website as well as KXAN. Visitation was slated to start at 9:30 because that procession, as you just referenced, was so long. Many didn't get there until about 10:30. And we know the funeral services for Officer Pastore slated to start at 11, but of course that'll be pushed back, like you referenced earlier, a little bit because of all of the support and that long procession. And there's a lady who emailed us, one of our viewers, Helen, and she sent us, you saw that?
Yes.
Yeah, a picture of the procession, and her husband is a part of APD, and she said she has never been a part of something overwhelmingly heavy. But she was also comforted by the support that she's seeing from the community.
Yeah, that line in that email really stuck out to me, that she had never seen that kind of a response for an officer before. And I mean, we are all witnessing that right now. We're taking a live look outside of the Circuit of the Americas. We saw Officer Pastore's name on that screen that's just kind of on the left side of the of your screen that you're looking at home right now. This is where everyone is gathered. This amphitheater out there at CODA can fill thousands of people, and they're all going to be there for this funeral. Again, this is a live shot from where the visitation is happening at the Germania Insurance Amphitheater at the Circuit of the Americas. A long line of first responders, officers, going up there to pay their respects at the casket. You can see that an American flag is proudly displayed just behind the casket and is also across the casket containing Officer Pastore's body.
And again, 6,700 reserved seats there.
Wow.
14,000, like you said, thousands upon thousands of seats there, 14,000. And I think that that's a true testament of what the force expects the support to be from members not only of our community, but really across the country. Something we talked about earlier was just getting to know the man behind the badge. And Officer Pastore, I love how you referenced just all of the different entities, the agencies that are there now.
Yeah.
He was not only a police officer, but prior to that, he was a firefighter, he was a paramedic, and then he rose in the ranks to lieutenant. And so truly, Will, a life dedicated to serving the community that he lived in.
Yeah, unfortunately, we never got the chance to meet him. But looking at his obituary this morning and reading a little bit more about his life, what stuck out to me was that his dream was to be on the SWAT team for Austin Police. He achieved that dream, and of course, he was carried to this service here today in that vehicle where those officers are taken to these incredibly dangerous, high-stakes situations, much like what we saw on last Saturday when all this unfolded.
And something we talked about, Will, before we got up here on air was about his love for mentoring children. So yes, he was busy serving his community in the capacity of a law enforcement officer, but on the side, him and his wife, his wife Kim opened Champions for Life, and that's where he taught and mentored hundreds of children just throughout his life and taught them martial arts. But something that was so striking to me, Will, is they considered him their real life hero. And something that stuck out to me even more was they all said they aspired one day to be like Mr. Jorge.
Yeah, and you saw during that procession just outside the Capitol, some school children had come to hold up signs expressing their love and support not only for Officer Pastore but Austin Police at large. So really, he had such a huge impact on the community now and of course going into the future.
And we did speak to the president-elect of the Austin Police Association, Officer Michael Bullock, about what he would say to Officer Pastore if he had one last chance. Here's what he had to say.
Give him another hug. And truly to tell him that he set a good example and that he will be dearly missed. But we will take it from here.
And the emotions, as you can see, just very heavy there. Many officers who we spoke to, Nick and Will, throughout this past week, they talked about the infectious personality that Officer Pastore had. His smile was contagious, and he never met a stranger, and he fiercely loved those, not only the people in his family, not only the people in his APD family, but the people in the community.
Yeah, that was what was evident in that obituary, again, mentioning over and over again how much he supported his family and stood by them, not only with his, wife and stepchildren, but also those on the force with him. Nick, we're seeing people out there gathered at the Circuit of the Americas. The weather, fortunately, is cooperating, and it's a pretty comfortable environment for them to have this service today.
Yeah, and it very reflective of the mood, the low clouds, the drizzle. This is the view from the Circuit of the Americas camera looking at the Germania Insurance Amphitheater there, where this is all going on. And some of the last clouds to clear in Central Texas right now are in that area, which is somewhat symbolic of the mood in many ways. But the sun is coming out here this afternoon, and as Jen, you mentioned, and both of you have been mentioning through the morning, we also have to remember Officer Pastore and what a light he seems to have brought to the community he served, and all of the fond memories that everyone's been reflecting about him. So in a very fitting and symbolic way, the weather starting gloomy but will brighten up, and remembering him as the bright spirit he seemed to be seems fitting of what type of weather we're dealing with here today.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that you made that correlation. Again, we're seeing a live look right now at CODA as the visitation does wrap up. Again, it was slated to start at 9:30, but that procession, as we saw, Nick, through the morning, it was so long, and so now that they're waiting to give everyone their chance to pay their final respects to Officer Pastore.
Yeah, and as our camera on the right corner there is zooming in to that line of first responders who were again going up individually to the casket containing Officer Pastore's body, some of them saluting, some of them standing there just kind of reflecting on their thoughts, it seems, but a huge show of support there, thousands in attendance for this service today.
And again, he was a husband, his wife Kim, of course, there, and then 2 stepsons there. His family had to be flown in from overseas, but they are there now. And they're supported by many community members. They're headed over to the amphitheater that we know holds 14,000 people. And a lot of those seats, 6,700 reserved seats, we know that those will be full. And we spoke to many law enforcement officers this morning. Sally, our morning anchor, she spoke with many officers who were there, making their way there to the services. And for them, it offered solace to see just all of the community support, the people pulled over on the side of the road, the people who took time out of their day to make sure that they were at that procession.
What also struck me yesterday on 6th Street was some of the businesses there switched out their flags to show their support for Officer Pastore and the Austin Police Department. So again, you're seeing these shows and displays of support, of condolences for the department, and it really shows that the community is standing behind them in this incredibly tragic moment, that they are with them.
Yeah, and we're told the service should be starting in about 15 minutes again as that visitation does wrap up. And you talk about the show of support across the community. We saw the APD headquarters, our very own Jayla Washington. She was there this morning, and there's a memorial that's been there since this incident happened, but it is growing. People dropping off flowers, people dropping off just signs and cards of condolences for his family as they enter into a holiday season. This is not lost on us. They are entering into Thanksgiving. Many of us will spend Thanksgiving with our families, and unfortunately, Officer Pastore's family, there will be one less at the table.
One less table, in that live picture that we're showing you there from inside the Germania Insurance Amphitheater at the Circuit of the Americas, again, you're seeing that stream of first responders there, but just behind them, a number of local leaders are seated. Mayor Kirk Watson there on the left side of your screen giving some officers a hug, shaking their hands as well. So we do know that there are some local leaders in attendance too, again showing their respects, paying their supports to the family of Officer Pastore and the Austin Police Department at large.
And right now, just again, we want to give you a full picture of just exactly who Officer Pastore was. As we told you, he was a firefighter, a paramedic, a lieutenant. But we spoke to Austin Police Officer Association President-elect Michael Bullock, and he talked about the passion that Officer Pastore had for his job.
This is not just a job. It can't be just a job. If it's just a job, then that's not the people that we need. We need people that care about people and the profession, because that's what gives us folks like Pastore, and even the other officers, right, that aren't with us. Everyone that's willing to do this job, you do it because you have a passion for it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
He talked about that passion there. Well, he dedicated his life to service, his entire life to service. Began teaching martial arts at the age of 16, and from there entered into a life of service as a firefighter, a paramedic. And you have to be dedicated, you have to be courageous, and you have to have grit to spend your life dedicated to serving your community and, more importantly, protecting your community.
And to grow that commitment to the community too. So you mentioned he started as a paramedic, a firefighter in Florida, and then moved here to Austin to serve with the Austin Police Department in 2019. What we now know is that he kept up that training, those hours of training necessary to reach his dream of being on the Austin Police Department's SWAT team. And again, we showed earlier today that full procession from Northwest Austin all the way to the Circuit of the Americas, where this funeral service is happening here shortly. And he was carried along the way in his casket, draped in an American flag, in that SWAT Bearcat vehicle, which is what the officers use to go to these incredibly dangerous, high-stakes situations. So again, they are picking up on that. They are wanting to show for those who did not know him, what his career involved, where his passions lie. And you saw that on display during that full, long procession this morning.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you referenced the hours that he put into this. Our Sally Hernandez, she has many connections within the law enforcement department, and she mentioned that 400 hours to continue his service. And the reason he came to Austin was because he wanted to do more, as if he wasn't already doing enough, but he wanted to do more to serve his community.
And we should note that he is survived by his loving wife, Kim, their 2 stepsons, as well as several sisters and other family members there. Some of them had to travel outside the country to be here today for this incredible sombering event that's about to unfold. We expect that funeral service will begin at about 11:30 or so, and we're going to be standing by and bringing you this live coverage of this funeral service whenever it begins.
Yeah, and well, right now we do want to get to some sound right now from former Austin Police Department Chief Art Acevedo. Here's what he had to say about Interim Police Chief Robin Henderson, who is navigating this journey of grief, losing.
I'm really proud of her. I've known her for many years. I remember I made her my administrative lieutenant, and she's just one of them. She has a heart that that is bigger than, you know, that big personality smile. If you know her, you know she'll hug you. Can't tell you how many glasses she's broken over the years in my pocket, in my breast pocket, because she will give you a hug that lets you know how much she loves and cares. And so, you know, she was supposed to be here. This is not by chance. This is by design, and she has just done an amazing job representing and leading the men and women of the police department.
Very heavy emotions right there. We want to give you some perspective on SWAT teams and their training. They're specially trained to, of course, handle crisis situations like that hostage situation. And according to the Department of Justice, that training involves countering ambushes, clearing the danger areas, neutralizing snipers, and of course, freeing hostages, as what Officer Pastore did. So it's very high pressure training, and that becomes all the more intense in the real life hostage situations, with SWAT officers often facing life-threatening danger.
The fact is that they have a massive adrenaline dumps. They have incredible blood pressures. And these are people that work out like athletes to be ready for this moment.
And of course, in that moment, really the only thing on the mind of the SWAT team is to neutralize the danger and save lives. And that's exactly, Will, what Officer Pastore did.
Yes, he did. And as we go back to show you a live look at the Circuit of the Americas, this is the Germania Insurance Amphitheater. This is where the funeral will be happening for Officer Jorge Pastore. And one of our reporters who was there at the service to cover it for us and for all of you at home, he just shared a note about something. So we've been showing a shot a few moments ago of the large American flag there, just behind the casket containing Officer Pastore's body. And Blake Devine, our reporter again who's there, said that Officer Pastore helped start a fire unit while he was working in Parkland, Florida. And to the left of his coffin there on the stage, we're panning over just a little bit to show you a look at that. There is his gear from that fire unit from Florida, because again, his first response, his service to the community started there. And we also should say that Officer Pastore responded to the Parkland High School shooting back in 2018. So a long storied career in first response and law enforcement there, as we zoom into his fire unit gear from Florida.
And right now you see his first responders, the families and friends and even strangers during the visitation hours. Right now we've seen a lot of tears. We've seen hugs. We've seen support from the community as they really rally around his family, his wife Kim, as well as his brothers and sisters within the Austin Police Department. And again, this is something that resonates. Kim was the love of his life. And they enjoyed traveling, staying active together, music. They had 2 dogs, Champ and Bella. Most of all, though, they enjoyed quiet time together. And it really seems like they had a life of service that they did. They did all of that together, especially opening the martial arts studio, Champions for Life. And that's where they mentored so many people who continue to view him as really their hero.
Yeah, with that live picture that we're showing right there from the Circuit of the Americas, there's a screen with a slideshow of different photos of Officer Pastore and his family. We saw that just a few moments ago. They again have asked for privacy during this incredibly tragic, sad time for them. Earlier, the visitation began at about a little after 9:30, and we made the decision to kind of respect their wishes to be able to have this moment to gather together with people who support them, love them, the department itself, and now this funeral service will begin here shortly. So we wanted to continue that live picture and bring you that service as it unfolds. We will carry it through its entirety. So again, stay with us throughout this morning.
And again, for Officer Pastore, being a part of SWAT was his dream.
Yeah.
He was fulfilling his dream, and that's something that we've heard from several officers who we've spoken with over the past week after this happened. And also, out of everything he did in his career, it says that he was most proud of his service in the Honor Guard, and that was the Seminole Tribe of Florida, and then as well here with APD.
Yeah, what I wanted you to talk about, though, Jen, was the mention about his work with children. You talked about that too just a second ago, but really focusing in on training them in martial arts, because that was a passion of his as well.
Yes, and we know the job that he was truly passionate about, the hours that he had to work being a first responder. Those aren't really conventional hours. Sometimes you're working overnight, you're working during the day, and so the fact that he found time to mentor children, to teach them, to be a superhero to those children is phenomenal, is something that phenomenal that he did during his life. So they opened the Champions for Life, him and his wife, to teach martial arts, something that he was very passionate about since he was a teenager. And then from there, he continued to do that work in different places where he lived, in addition to being a first responder across the country.
Again, you are watching live pictures from the Circuit of the Americas. The Germania Insurance Amphitheater is hosting the funeral service today for Officer Jorge Pastore, who died just last weekend during a SWAT situation. He was going in to rescue 2 hostages, which was a part of the high-stakes job that he had trained hours on end to be able to reach that dream of his, to be a part of that elite team. And again, we were seeing earlier a line of first responders, different police officers, deputies, other members of different law enforcement agencies going up on stage to pay their respects where the casket is draped in an American flag containing Officer Pastore's body. That line has now cleared up, so we anticipate that that service will be starting here relatively soon, and again, we will carry it through its entirety.
We absolutely will, and you're of course looking at different vantage points of CODA, and we know that that is a huge venue, just
Absolutely.
as we made reference to earlier. It's usually where there are events regarding racing and just events of celebration. And yes, they're celebrating the life of Officer Pastore, but certainly a solemn day at CODA.
Yeah, you and Sally mentioned this morning about that perspective. I had not really thought about that, that the fact that they were going to host this funeral service today, how different that is from what they normally host out there. But it has such a large space for thousands to gather. I believe there were, reserved for 6,700 people or so for just today's service. So we, of course, I would imagine that the department and the family of Officer Pastore appreciates being able to go out there to the Circuit of the Americas and have this service, this chance to pay some respects to Officer Pastore at that venue.
And that was one of former Chief Acevedo. That's what he was saying earlier about how every day these men and women, they put their lives on the line, and we don't always see everything that goes into their job. So this support is really critical to them in their time of grieving, as they grieve, as they go into the holidays, as they still, again, have to protect and serve, but to have the support from the community it is helping them get through this challenging time.
That is going to be an incredibly tough holiday for the family of Officer Pastore and so many that knew him, loved him, worked alongside him. Again, we can't forget about that perspective too. It's a huge loss for them. There you see Mayor Kirk Watson, along with, I believe, the interim police chief, Robin Henderson, there taking their seats in that first row up on stage at the Germania Insurance Amphitheater. We may be getting very close to the start of that service, so again, just stay with us for that.
And we know that the family will be seated next to the mayor and the interim police chief. The interim police chief certainly has a huge force, a huge show of support behind her, not just from here, but from across the country as people have traveled here to ensure that they provide the support that will be needed, not only today, but really will for the weeks and even months to come.
Yeah, and I hope that on that ride to the Circuit of the Americas, to this incredibly somber, saddening service that will unfold here shortly, that they remember all those people along the way who showed their support, who hung flags over overpasses on the highways, taking this long journey there to this service. So hopefully that shores them up and gives them a bit of a sense of how the community is standing next to them.
Absolutely. And again, that visitation wrapped up. That was slated to start at 9:30, started later because there were so many people coming there to show their respects. But if we just take a moment and take this in. Again, for perspective here at CODA, thousands upon thousands of seats there, and it looks like many of them will be full. Officer Pastore's body there on the stage.
A flag draped across his casket there, a hero's burial, a hero's service. And we are anticipating that service to begin here relatively soon. What we're looking at here now are people being escorted onto stage. It's unclear who some of these people might be, but we would imagine that loved ones are going to be taking their seats there on both sides of the casket there. But that shot a few moments ago of the perspective of all those officers, all those first responders gathered there, breathtaking.
Yes, it absolutely is. And you see that, you saw that shot, but obviously on the lawn there are hundreds of community members, many of them who never met Officer Pastore, many of them who've never met his family, but they wanted to be there. They wanted to be there to show their support. They wanted to be there to let this police department know that they are here for them as they deal with this.
Absolutely. And Officer Pastore served the Austin Police Department, but his career in first response and serving the community went well beyond that. A few moments ago, we told you just to the left of his coffin there is a bit of gear from a fire department where he served in Florida. In Parkland, Florida, he helped start a fire unit. Our reporter there on scene, Blake Devine, who is covering this service for us, shared that note so that we can mention that. If you're looking at the stage there, that's the significance of that gear that's to the left of his coffin. So again, that sense of service extended for years, and his dream was to be with the Austin Police Department's SWAT team, taking hundreds of hours of training to be able to achieve that honor.
Yeah, hundreds of hours of training to do what he loved, to fulfill a dream that he loved. And it seems like that's the reason he was so inspirational to so many people. And we can see that people are taking their seats now. We do anticipate probably momentarily the funeral service starting. We do see some people still filing in on the right of your screen, but after that we do believe that this service will be starting here shortly.
Yeah, a lot of people wanted to take time and pay their respects there on stage. A long line of first responders and police officers, deputies, different members of law enforcement agencies from across the whole country and area. So let's listen in as that service gets underway.
wish I could swim like dolphins can swim. Though nothing will keep us together, we can beat them forever and ever. How we can be heroes just for one day. How we can be heroes just for one day. I will be king, and you will be queen. Though nothing will drive us away, how we can be heroes just for one day. How we can be us just for one day. I can remember standing by the wall, and the guns shout above our heads, and we kiss as though nothing could fall. And the shame is on the other side. Oh, we can beat them forever and ever. And we can be heroes just for one day.
Good morning, grace and peace to you. From He Is Gone by David Harkins. You can shed tears that he is gone, or you can smile because he has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that he will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that he has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see him, or you can be full of the love that you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can cherish him and only that he is gone, or you can cherish his memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what he would want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. Please join me for a moment of silence. You're invited to reflect in whatever way is consistent with your own spiritual tradition, to reflect on George, the impact his life had on you, and the gratitude you feel for having known him. Could we pause? On Saturday, November 11th, 2023, Jorge Ignacio Pastore passed away doing what he loved. He was only 38. He was an amazing man whose purpose in life was to serve and to protect others. He was a true patriot, and as his family says, it was only fitting that the day of his passing was Veterans Day. He was born in Glendale, California, and moved to Florida as a child, where he discovered his passion for martial arts and began teaching at the age of 16. He and his wife later opened Champions for Life, where he taught and mentored hundreds of children throughout the course of his life, most of whom consider him to be a real-life superhero and continue to aspire to be just like Mr. George. In Florida, he spent 10 years in the fire service as a firefighter, paramedic, and lieutenant. His passion for helping others and his desire to challenge himself led him to the Austin Police Department, where he became a police officer and ultimately fulfilled his dream of earning a position on the SWAT team. Out of everything he did in his career, George was most proud of his service in the Honor Guard, both for the Seminole Tribe of Florida and for the APD. He was fiercely loyal and protective of many people who were lucky enough to be loved by him. George was blessed to be married to the love of his life, Kim. They enjoyed traveling, music, staying active, and their dogs, Champ and Bella. But most of all, quiet time together was what they cherished most. He was a supportive and caring stepfather to Connor and Trevor, and was so proud of the men they have become. It was important to George to elevate, motivate, and support everyone he came in contact with, and to encourage them to be the best versions of themselves. He loved to make people laugh and always put others first. He was a truly humble warrior who championed other people's dreams, goals, and accomplishments. Those who loved him have lost the person they could always depend on to support and to love them unconditionally. We have lost an amazing human being whose entire existence was spent serving others and making their lives both better and safer. George is survived by his loving wife, Kim, his stepchildren, Connor, Trevor, and Taylor, his mother, Lourdes, his father, Jorge, and wife, Jessica, their 3 children, his beloved sisters, Tatiana, her husband, Juan Miguel, and Noheli, as well as many aunts, uncles, and cousins that loved him dearly. At this time, I'd like to invite up Kirk Watson, Mayor of the City of Austin.
Ms. Pastore, Officer Pastore's family, on behalf of our city and all of us who rely on brave people, and we all do count on heroic police officers, please know that all of us grieve with you. We all mourn. We lift you up, embrace you, and we thank you. We thank you for sharing this selfless community guardian that's been lost. This is horrible. The sadness is overwhelming, and the loss shakes our understanding. Officer Jorge Pastore was our guardian. He was our protector, a defender of our community. This man was a shield against fear and harm, wrongdoing, and danger. He was a police officer, and we ask so very much. It's difficult, almost impossible, to wrap our minds around what happened to someone who truly, passionately loved being a cop, loved serving in the role of our guardian, shared his joy for doing it. He was trained as a paramedic. For 10 years, he was a firefighter. And of course, he was a police officer. He was the definition of, he had the heart and the spirit of a first responder. Yeah, he was always responding first, but also he put everyone else first. Throughout his career, George chose time and again to be there for people when they are most in need. He taught the young people who needed him. He offered care and compassion to people in medical crisis, saved lives and homes as a firefighter, and as a SWAT officer, he moved toward gunfire to protect someone else. I believe he put himself there because he loved us, the people he chose to serve. George loved us, loved those he didn't know, but he didn't need to know us individually to love us enough and to have the integrity to run toward danger. He wasn't one to sit and wait. He wanted to be part of SWAT from the time he joined APD. Of course, he was the first one in. Officer Pastore had a motto, a life mantra. In fact, he inked it onto his skin, proclaiming, "Protect my brothers, everyone goes home." He didn't go home. He did his job with gusto and bravery so we can all feel safer in our homes. But he didn't go home. We can never repay him. To all of you who are in APD or serving as police officers, protecting us, we want you to be safe. Officer Pastore said he was there to protect his brothers and sisters. His words are our prayer for all of you. Everyone goes home. He didn't go home. Our guardian didn't go home. Ms. Pastore and all of his family, you live with the void that creates in your home. He had Austin's back. Austin has your back. God bless you. God bless him. And may God bless and protect all of you who serve us in this way.
This time I'd like to invite up Chief Robin Henderson, Austin Police Department, for remarks.
Mayor Kirk Watson, Interim City Manager Jesus Garza, Interim Assistant City Manager Bruce Mills, and distinguished guests here in attendance today. I stand before you, brokenhearted, but honored to have the privilege to know, work with, and work for Officer Jorge Pastore, number 9097, TAC 66. Husband, father, son, brother, uncle, friend, officer, hero. Senior Police Officer Jorge Pastore began his career with the Austin Police Department on June 24th, 2019, with the 141st Cadet Class, and was commissioned as a police officer on January 31st, 2020. Pastore, who we commonly refer to him as, served our Austin community in a variety of different capacities, starting in South Central Austin, Henry Sector, first on night shift, and then moving to evening shift. He then most recently transferred to George evenings. while also serving as an active member of the Honor Guard, SWAT Gold Team, Special Response Team, and Counter Assault Strike Team. Officer Pastore was all in. While many of us here actually knew Officer Pastore, there are some of you here that didn't. However, it is because of the ultimate sacrifice Pastore made as a law enforcement officer in the city of Austin is why you find yourselves here today. And for that, I thank you. Thank you for making the journey today to honor Officer Pastore. I would like to recognize the Seminole Tribe Fire Rescue from Florida that is in attendance here today. Prior to joining APD, Pastore worked with the Seminole Tribe Fire and Rescue as firefighter and paramedic. We recognize that you have lost a brother too. But please know you have gained an Austin Police Department family, an Austin Fire Department family, and an Austin Travis County EMS family forever. Thank you for being here. As we all come together as one family, both sworn and civilian, I cannot tell you how much pride this brings me to look out and see each one of your faces. However, the circumstance that has brought us here is one that we never imagined or ever wanted. Every time one of our brothers and sisters in blue are killed in the line of duty, it impacts us all. Thank you for being here. My first memory of meeting Pastore was at the East Sub in Show Up when he was on the Henry 300s. Vibrant, happy, energetic. One thing that stood out and caught my eye about Pastore was the sheer amount of gear that he had on his outer vest carrier, and then just as much gear on his duty belt. Naturally, my first thought was this new officer had equipped himself with every weapon possible to patrol the streets, and thinking to myself that all that fancy gear will only last until the first hot days of summer. But as I looked closer, what Pastore actually loaded himself down with was a menagerie of first aid and medical gear. Intrigued, I made the mistake of asking Pastore what was up with all that medical gear, and instantly the expression on his face changed to that of instructional intensity. I then received an in-depth explanation of each piece of medical gear he was carrying and what type of injury it was for. Perplexed, I asked, "Where did you learn all this?" And that's when he told me he was a paramedic and firefighter in Florida. As we were short on time, I did not have an opportunity to learn about Pastore, what had brought Pastore to the Austin Police Department. But you are likely to hear about that today from one of the other speakers. I left that conversation not remembering any of the 47 medical techniques Pastore had just shown me in 10 minutes, but overjoyed at the extensive level he had prepared himself, not to take somebody's life, but to save someone's life, which he did several times. It was from that meeting that I felt like every time I turned around, there was Pastore. His dedication to our department, our community, and his teammates was second to none. None. Pastore was always all in. Pastore exemplified leadership, teamwork, inclusion, selflessness, passion, and resiliency. As stated, Pastore served with several different teams in various capacities, and I would like to take a minute to highlight some of those areas. Prior to joining APD, Pastore had helped form an honor guard with the department in Florida, and it was obvious he was very passionate about it. Upon completion of cadet class, as soon as he was eligible, he joined the Austin Police Department Honor Guard. His attention to detail in the uniform and his focus on excellence in delivering the highest honors to the fallen were second to none. He was adamant about wearing a tie that he had actually tied, not the clip-on one, with his Honor Guard uniform, and he took immense pride in how he looked in that uniform and focused on every detail. He was impeccable in his appearance. From our Special Response Team, SRT, Pastore was an integral member of the APD Special Response Team. Pastore attended nearly every quarterly training and deployment we had to offer. His attitude and positive nature was contagious. And which someone could look up to as an example of an exemplary member of the team. He would light up the room whenever he walked in. He always made it a point to go around and shake everyone's hand. He would routinely remind you that he was glad to see you as he had a big smile on his face. He was genuine about everything he did and wanted to do as much as he could. We on the SRT cadre would always fight to have him at our events because he was a natural leader. Pastore was a part of so many other units, and we were always jealous when he wasn't with us. We didn't like to share him. He will be greatly missed as a member of the Sierra 2 Force, but will never be forgotten. Rest easy, brother. We'll take it from here. On behalf of the Austin Police Department Counter Assault Strike Team cast, we would like to take a moment to honor the Pastore family by paying tribute to an irreplaceable member of both your family and ours. We could no doubt fill this place with countless stories of how Pastore impacted our APD family. However, we would like to reserve a small portion of this tribute to highlight the broader impact of Pastore's incredible contributions and how they benefit our community as a whole. Pastore was a steadfast member of CAST. Pastore found an opportunity within our organization to seek solutions in intimidating and appalling situations. In our past, law enforcement, EMS, and firefighters had worked separately, each agency responsible for their own duties. Perhaps we could credit Pastore's background as a fighter fire and a paramedic with his ability to see past these discipline boundaries. One of the most obvious examples of this connections made by Officer Pastore can be seen by the many grieving faces of our Austin Travis County EMS and Austin Fire partners. Each of these faces carries a wave of emotions and memories of how Officer Pastore's life impacted them in such an incredible way. And I apologize, I keep sniffling. I'm trying to hold it together, y'all. Historically, condolences from partner agencies have been, I'm sorry for your loss. Officer Pastore's personality and life of service have eliminated that detachment. We now find ourselves sharing in each other's loss. We no longer draw distinctions or boundaries between disciplines when one of us suffers loss. It is the same calling to protect the communities that we serve that now binds us to the hurt with the loss of Pastore. Even in death, Pastore continues to bring friends, agencies, families, and communities together. The bonds he built will continue to grow. Thank you for all of those who allowed me to speak on your behalf today. I'm honored to have an opportunity to do so. I do want everyone here to please know that even in the midst of the unique challenges of our department and what the state that we find ourselves in, Pastore never wavered. His jovial intensity to serve, lead, educate, and protect was resolute. The same can be said for just about every officer that is here today and working for the Austin Police Department. We are all in. Officer Pastore was always all in. Pastore was first in. The monumental sacrifice Pastore made for his brothers and sisters in APD and his partner agencies and his community is without question. As we are eternally grateful for the sacrifice Officer Pastore made, in posthumous, Jorge Pastore, number 9097, is being awarded the Medal of Valor for displaying exceptional bravery and courageous action, risking life or serious bodily injury while in the performance of duty. In addition to a Purple Heart for his death, resulting from a suspect's actions in the line of duty under honorable circumstances with valor. Thank you. Kim, Connor, Trevor, Lourdes, George Sr., Tatiana, Noelle Lee, thank you so much for sharing George with us. Each of you are now adopted into a huge law enforcement family, fire family, and DMS family, one that will stand beside you and support you forever. Kim, I hope you know how much Pastore loved you, loved his job, and how much he truly contributed to our agency, others, and the Austin community. We are forever thankful to have been a part of his life. As I close, I must thank and need to thank our EMS TAC medics and Del Seton medical staff for their extreme efforts to save Pastore's life. It afforded our SWAT team, his shift mates, his DTAC officers, and many other officers, including myself, an opportunity to be there in Pastore's last moments with us. And for that, we are eternally grateful. To Honor Guard, Peer Support, Circuit of the Americas, network of our APD family members and first responders who have helped in caring for and honoring Pastore today, thank you. To the 141st Cadet Class, DTAC, SWAT, and our brothers and sisters of the Austin Police Department. Thank you for your overwhelming support of the Pastore's family during this very challenging time. Each of you have been all in. Jorge Pastore, TAC 66, thank you for making the ultimate sacrifice for our community and for us. Thank you for always being all in. But most importantly, thank you for being Pastore, first in. I am incredibly proud of you. We all love you. And we will never forget you. Keep smiling, Officer Pastore. Rest easy, TAC 66, and we'll take it from here.
Red and blue lights cover 75 like a train.
I'd like to invite up Felix Perez, Nicholas Garcia, Taylor Lane, and Mike Castillo, please, for your remarks.
It's an honor to stand here today before all of you and to be able to speak at the service of a man as great as the one we are celebrating today. Jorge Pastore is one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. Unfortunately, you're probably going to hear a lot of repeat things said today, but that's just because they're true. Every time you saw him, he always had a smile on his face. He'd walk into every room, he'd shake everyone's hand. He asked them how they were doing. And it wasn't fake, it was genuine. That's just who he was. I met him almost 5 years ago. It was day one of the police academy. And I just remember laughing because on his left hand, he had like one of those like silly tribal tattoos, like all across his hand. And I just thought it was kind of funny. But not too long after that, I quickly realized that there was just an aura around him. You couldn't really explain it, but you wanted to be around him. You wanted to be near him. He had this energy and just this vibrant personality about him. I couldn't, to this day, I couldn't understand it. I was around him, almost every day for the last 5 years. And people just gravitated towards him because that's just who he was. And little did I know that day, I'd meet one of my best friends and one of the greatest men I've ever met in my life. And George was incredibly motivated. He was dedicated, took ownership of all the decisions he made in his life. He held himself and other people accountable. And he always pointed the thumb, he never pointed the finger. We went on to work like in the same areas of the city as Chief Robinson said. We worked Henry Patrol together. We worked downtown together. And we had the option of riding solo, but him and I, we rode together hundreds of days. And there wasn't a day that went by that Pastore came to work, and as soon as he put his uniform on, it didn't matter what was going on outside of work. It didn't matter what was going on in his life. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered, frankly. It was time to go to work, and it was that simple. He gave us, other police officers, EMS, fire, he gave us everything he had, and it wasn't fake. It was real. A lot of times you hear people use a quote and say, this person would give you the shirt off their back. George would do exactly that, but then he'd take you to go buy 5 more. And then at some point, he'd find out who your family members were or someone, and he'd call them, and he'd find out what else you would need. And he'd make sure that that was taken care of so that you'd be okay, because that's who he was. He took care of everyone around him. If you needed anything, it didn't matter if he knew you or not. That was irrelevant to him. All that mattered to him was helping others and being in service of others. He was the hardest working and the most humble man in the room. And there's no one I trusted more than him. I would tell his wife, Kim, when we talk, I say, whenever I'm with him, there was There was never a worry in my heart. Whether we were clearing a house, making a traffic stop, I never had to worry if Pastore was going to be there or not. If you needed help, if you needed something, it didn't matter if you were on the other side of the city. He would always key up and be the first one on his way there. And that stayed consistent. That never changed. No matter how busy he was, no matter what went on, no matter what else was going on in the city, or even if he was in the middle of something, if you needed help, you can bank on Officer Pastore being there. To my friend George, I'm gonna miss seeing you every day. I'm gonna miss calling you and asking you for help with something, because I knew he could fix anything. Anything I needed, anything anyone needed, Pastore could fix it. I'm gonna miss being in the same car as you, fighting about who's gonna drive today, arguing about what fragrance we were gonna spray the patrol cars with, because they smell bad. You like the Mrs. Myers ones. Or Mr. Meyer, I don't know. I'm gonna miss arguing about if we're gonna get Tyson's tacos. Crunchy tacos were his favorite. Listening to Chris Stapleton in the car together. Picking out matching tag t-shirts so we could wear them to training together. And I can go on and on. I've been a police officer for almost 4 years. And about 99% of that time, he was right next to me. He left a hole that can never be filled. I'm grateful for every single moment that I had with him. There was nothing he couldn't do. He was the most inspirational, dedicated, and one of the most beautiful people I've ever met in my life. George, thank you for being you and never changing and never apologizing for who you were. Thank you for always giving us your time. Thank you for bringing us into your light. Thank you for spending hours and days trying to help others. Thank you for always being there for me. Pastore had a saying in the police academy, and he kept it going once he graduated. He would say, find five, find five. At the end of every PT session, he would tell everyone, hey, find 5 people and tell them good job or give them some sort of encouraging message. And I'll end with this. Thank you for bringing us all together. To everyone at the Seminole Tribe Fire Rescue, thank you for being here. George, we're all here for you today. Your family, your brothers, your Seminole family. You left a forever imprint on our hearts. The world will never forget you, and we will make sure they never do. Your legacy will live on. Quite frankly, I don't know how yet, but we'll find a way. To my brother, the P to my P, the rock steady to my bebop, I love you, and I will never forget you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today with a heart full of gratitude and admiration for the person who has profoundly shaped my journey. I've known George since I was about 4 years old. He paved the way and guided me onto the right track. I followed in his footsteps for as long as I can remember. From starting martial arts at a young age, to becoming an instructor in my teenage years, to graduating high school and joining the EMT program, and later following through to become a firefighter and paramedic. As I reflect on the milestones and challenges that we've navigated together, I'm overwhelmed with appreciation for the invaluable lessons learned and unwavering support given. George instilled in me honesty, integrity, respect, discipline, determination, and work ethic. These character traits have guided me throughout my entire life. He taught me to eliminate the word can't from my vocabulary. He taught me that giving up was never an option. He taught me that no matter how difficult the circumstances, with perseverance and a positive attitude, I can overcome anything. George taught me that my possibilities were endless. For those of you that knew him, you know that he wanted to be the best at everything that he did. Being the best isn't about competing with the person next to you. It's about competing with yourself and becoming better than you were the day before. George always told me, if you're gonna do something, do it with a purpose and give 110%. Having integrity is another one of the many things that sticks out to me. The dictionary definition of integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. But George's definition is doing the right thing even when no one's watching. George lived with integrity 24/7. It didn't matter whether he was on shift or off shift, in uniform or out of uniform. He did things because he wanted to, not because he wanted something in return. George has been a role model and made a positive impact in hundreds, if not thousands of lives. He is loved and will be missed by many. To Mr. George, my mentor, my family, I wouldn't be the person I am today without you. You helped me find my passion and purpose, and for that, I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you.
So I'll apologize now that I'm horrible at this, but I want to thank everyone for allowing me this time to be here and to show that we are expressing our deepest sympathy with everyone in attendance today. Most important, Kim, you're as strong as they come. And George knew this, otherwise he wouldn't have taken a second look. Connor, Trevor, you have and always will be part of our family, and I want you to know Pastore absolutely loved you. Pastore, George, knew this, otherwise we would have never known because he doesn't keep anyone close that he doesn't share anything with. I also want to acknowledge Connor and all of Pastore's SWAT family. Connor, we are sending you love and prayers for a speedy recovery, brother. We pray for all of the family and friends. We are all hurting in different ways, which Pastore would not be happy about. All this attention, he'd hate it. Inside, he's like, yeah, that's me. But outside, he wouldn't have liked it. We're all here, and we're all with you in this time of grief. For all of his Red Line and Blue Line family, we're here and need each other more than ever. Pastore was one of a kind, selfless, hard-headed, an amazing man. There is nothing we can do to make this easier, but we can honor him by coming together and constantly working together the way that he would want it. Pastore was a structured and very goofy individual who did not allow bad company to surround him. If any of you here are close with Pastore, you're very lucky, because he doesn't let anyone close if they didn't deserve it. Pastore was a pinnacle piece of our honor guard and our fire department. He helped start it. He has left an impact that can never be taken away. He was my lieutenant and a great mentor. As when I moved up and got promoted, he was always there for guidance. Pastore, you could tell that they always say you're a reflection of the company you keep, and it shows because he was amazing. And the people around him, amazing. I want to challenge everyone to be like Pastore and just bring a smile to someone's face and make it contagious. That's what he did. All he had to do was just show up and just that smile brighten the room. We will continue becoming closer and working together as a family like he always wanted. He was very big with camaraderie, and that shows as well. If anyone ever needs anything, myself and the Seminole Tribe Fire Rescue family, we're here. Little did Pastore know, he would continue bringing people closer, even during the worst of days. Kim, we love you, and we are here for you. The family, all the friends, you're not alone. Austin Police Department and Austin Fire, thank you so much for allowing us to participate and honor our brother. Whether you want to or not, we're one big family now. The hose draggers and the donut lovers, we're coming together. We're uniting as one. Pastore always fought for the camaraderie, and look at this. This is amazing. Thank you, everyone, for honoring Pastore as the hero, the badass SOB that he was, the friend, the brother, and all-around lovable human he was. Pastore, buddy, we love you, and we'll always have you with us. To the man with no chill but all thrill, till we meet again, rest easy, brother. See you in a bit. I love you, brother.
Wow. First off, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. This is unbelievable. This is unreal to see the amount of people out here. My name's Mike Castillo. I'm a good friend of Jorge's, also a member of the SWAT team. You can understand, I'm going to read my thoughts today just so I can make sure I portray him to the best of my ability. So here goes. Protect my brothers. Everyone goes home. This is the tattoo that Jorge proudly wore across his chest. I first met Jorge at one of the quarterly honor guard trainings. He showed up by invite because he was interested in joining the unit. Honor guard, as you know, is a secondary assignment outside of our normal duties. Jorge's primary assignment was the downtown area command with the George 400s. Seemed like a lot of the guys at that honor guard training had met him before, but I hadn't. I overheard some of the guys calling him George, other guys called him Jorge. Me being me, I walked right over to him. I just said, "So what do they call you?" He just smiled at me and said, "George, Jorge, it's just whatever. Either one works." I said, "Perfect, I'll call you George A." To this day, that's still how his contact shows up in my phone. I could tell right away he was disciplined and motivated to do things the right way. As our friendship grew, we often talked about how he wanted to get on the SWAT team. I asked him why he wanted to do this, and he shared with me how he had already worked almost a full career as a firefighter, but he felt he had another calling after seeing some of the horrors from mass casualty incidents. He told me he wanted to be up front with the guys, going in first, doing what he could to stop the killing. I'm going to share with y'all just a couple examples of the person that he truly was, the type of person he truly was. So there was one week where we worked a special contract assignment in suits. We drove the executives of BMW back and forth from the airport. We were making drops, coming and going. At one of the venues, I was standing outside my car near the road when a sedan came flying down the street. I had to kind of jump out of the way. Car probably missed me by inches and kept heading down to the end of the street. Jorge pulled up right about that time, and I walked up to his window, and I was like, "Bro, did you see that? The car almost hit me." The look on his face instantly changed. He grabbed my wrist and said, "Which one? What did he look like?" I pointed to the car, but I told him I was fine. He said, "No way, bro, I'll be right back." He ended up coming back a few minutes later, and I asked what happened. He told me he stopped the guy, identified himself as a police officer. He said he made sure it wouldn't happen again. He was the kind of guy that didn't let people wrong his buddies, and he believed in the brotherhood to his core. Those that knew him never had to question whether or not he was going to be there for you or have your back in times of crisis. Every time I called him, he answered on the first ring. Anytime I asked if he could cover my on-call so I could take my wife out, because she's always catching the brunt of our stressful job and the unanticipated times we're called on, he immediately said yes. I knew he hadn't checked his schedule or had a take-home car lined up, nothing. He just worked those things out behind the scenes so I didn't have to even think about it. The next day he would text me at 7 a.m. asking, "How did the date night go? I hope Val had a wonderful time." I signed up to work an overtime gig with his patrol shift downtown. I was super excited to get to work the street with Jorge and make a little extra money, spend time with him taking calls. The moment we went 41, he was ready to get to work. I told him, "Hey man, you know I'm on OT, right? Don't be getting all crazy." He just smiled at me with his typical, "Oh, we're getting into some stuff" grin. He pulled up the list of active warrants. I feel like we checked every corner and alley of the downtown area looking for felons. We pulled up to some of the locals who clearly knew him. And those people were pointing in all directions where they last saw his guy. I was so impressed by his passion for police work and his willingness to be proactive. He loved this work and no doubt made a significant impact on crime reduction in the downtown area. When that particular patrol shift we were working was coming to an end, he drove me back to my Tahoe so I could unload my gear. About that time, we heard over the radio that another officer was attempting to stop a vehicle who was believed to be driven by a man who had threatened to come back and shoot up a nightclub from an earlier call. The traffic stop was initiated and the car started to evade, refusing to pull over. Jorge looked over at me and I looked right back. He smiled, said, "You want to go?" I said, "No, but I know we're gonna." So we jumped back in the car as other officers activated a pursuit. We caught up to it pretty quickly with Jorge's, well, you know, safe driving skills. We caught up to it pretty quickly. The two cops in front of us ended up crashing into each other because the suspect kept slamming on his brakes, speeding back up. Next thing I know, we're #1 in the pursuit. I'm sitting in the front seat, holding Jorge's rifle in my hand, and he's just smiling like he's having the time of his life. We're chasing this guy. DPS is paralleling us. The pit car's coming up past us to attempt an approved pit maneuver. The car gets pitted right in the middle of 35, crashing into the guardrail, debris, glass flying everywhere. Next thing I know, we're out of the car giving commands. The suspect had exited the vehicle and was being non-compliant. We couldn't see his hands. Another officer ends up flanking the suspect and tasing him. Jorge and I moved up together, cleared the vehicles as the call came to an end. We get back in the car and we're heading back to the main. The dust had settled and Jorge just looks over at me with that grin and says, "Well, that was cool." I was like, "Bro, I was literally unloading to head home. What just happened?" He said, "Police work, my friend." You know, if I'm being honest, I've been doing what I can to keep my mind busy this week with the funeral preparations and the fact that I had to talk in front of so many people. I've done my best to stay strong and keep it together, but it really hit me when I thought about the last time we were on an operation together, and one of the last things that he said to me in person. It was going to be a dangerous entry into a house on a call. Before we pushed out on that, he walked over, he hugged me like he always did, looked me in the eye, and he said, "See you on the other side, brother." So take time to let out your tears. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to show your emotions. Jorge gave his life so that others could succeed, and we're going to continue to hold the line and do what we need to do for each other, because that's what he would have done. He would want us to use today to share fellowship, laugh, joke, smile, enjoy each other's company. Today we honor him. Take a look around. Right now, do it. Look around. This is how many people he affected. He would have loved this, and I know he's watching. I challenge you to read the oath we took and remember why we chose this profession. Purpose. That's why. It was never about money, politics, image, or gear. It was about the people, the brotherhood, and the community. Wear your shields with pride and don't ever forget what it represents. Jorge was a police officer, and he did his duty up until the last breath he took. Protect my brothers. Everyone goes home. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome up Rafael Rodriguez. Comments from the family.
My brother, my heart, my soul, you have filled me with your passion to serve, your passion to honor, your passion for sacrifice. Greater love hath no man than this, to lay down his life for a friend. A verse that many do not live to truly understand, and even less will ever experience. Those of us who had the pleasure of serving with George know that passion. He lived life at full speed and gave himself fully to everything he did. Failure was not an option. I have known George since I was a child. Little did I know that meeting him would change the trajectory of my entire life. But he was not just my friend. He was my brother. He was my mentor. I would not be the man I am today if it wasn't for him. He loved like no other, and our lives without him will forever leave a hole to be filled within our hearts. My brother was a hero, and his patriotism flowed throughout his body. He saved countless lives in many different ways, both in person and by proxy. He was an everlasting foundation for us, whose influence will expand to countless lives. The influence and passion he instilled in others will continue to change the world for generations to come. Kim, you were his soul. You were his everything. You were his rock and his foundation. You were the immovable object that was with him throughout his journey to change the world. You were the living embodiment of what many strive to emulate. For your love to each other was immeasurable, is immeasurable. Before I finish, I would like to read the words of Chief Tecumseh by which George lived since the day he entered this world to fulfill his purpose. So live your life that the fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion. Respect others in their view and demand that they respect yours. Love your life. Perfect your life. Beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long and its purpose in the service of your people. When it comes your time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with the fear of death, so that when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home. Thank you.
First, on behalf of Kim and the Pastore family, thank you all for being here today. As has been said, human beings are communal creatures. More than you know, your presence here is a comfort to this family and brings great honor to our fallen brother. I also want to thank all of our speakers for sharing their thoughts about George and reminding us what a unique person and devoted public servant that he was. Unfortunately, we have been here way too often. Once again, we are reminded that life is a precious gift, made even more precious when it is ended all too soon. I won't take long. Others have spoken eloquently here. I won't belabor their points, but I do want to focus on three words that we've heard again and again and again this afternoon. Those three words are love, service, and heroism. You've heard it said that George loved being a police officer. Even beyond that, he found ways to use his life and his passion to help others. He gave his life in the many hours he spent shaping the lives of young people, teaching them martial arts, more importantly, teaching them life. He gave his life in the years he served as a firefighter and a paramedic, and then as a police officer. And in all of that, he acted out of love. The depth of grief and loss that is felt here today is directly proportional to the love that so many had for George. He put love into the world, and that made it easy to send love right back to him. Earlier this week, as Kim and I were visiting about the service, she referenced that love more powerfully than I ever could. Her exact words were, "We are more overwhelmed by the love than by the loss." The second word that comes to mind is service. George had a servant's heart. Some people are just hardwired that way. It is built into their DNA. That was George, and that's why we are here today to honor him for it. He went well above and beyond what you would call the normal call to duty for a police officer. He served on the SRT, the CAS team, the SWAT Gold team, and the APD Honor Guard, and each of those was a voluntary assignment. Why did he do all that? Because he loved serving others. And in a world where more and more people seem to be asking, what's in it for me? George selflessly and passionately served his community and served it well. As his obituary says, he helped make the citizens of this city safer and their lives better. But finally, there is the word heroism. That is a word I doubt seriously George would ever use to describe himself, but is a word that fits him nonetheless. The dictionary defines a hero as someone who is admired for his or her courage and brave deeds. A hero is someone who displays boldness and altruism. A hero is someone others regard as a role model or ideal. In every sense of that definition, George's life is heroic. He loved helping others and making their lives better. He served with honor and distinction, and he offered up the ultimate sacrifice, giving his life while trying to save others. He literally ran in while others ran out. Love, service, heroism. The longer you live on this planet, the more you realize life has its speed bumps. There are disappointments, there are hurts, there is the unexpected, there is pain, and there is suffering. But there are also some things that are a blessing. And when you've had the privilege of doing life together with someone like Jorge Pastore, you know the blessing. Alfred Lord Tennyson wrote in his epic poem, In Memoriam, these words: I hold it true, whate'er befall, I feel it when I sorrow most. 'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. We're reminded today that those we lose to death are still very much alive in the memories and the legacy that they leave in our hearts. So as we prepare to depart from this place, let us remember George, his love, his service, his heroism, and most importantly, let us follow in the footsteps of the legacy he has left.
Let's make our escape. Come on. Take these dreams and make them mine. Can you take me higher to a place where blind man see? Can you take me higher to a place with golden streets? Can you take me higher to a place where blind men see? Can you take me higher to a place with golden streets?
As we bring this service to a close, I'm going to ask you all please to remain where you are as we render police honors by the APD Honor Guard team and pipe and drum band. As part of those honors, you'll hear a bugle playing taps, and I think the lyrics to that song are an appropriate benediction. It says, "Day is done, gone the sun, from the hills, from the lake, from the skies, all is well, safely rest. God is not."
Stand by. All officers, out and officers, present arms. Firing team leader, prepare to fire the volleys. All officers, order, arms. Hurried, rest.
TAC 66. TAC 66. Austin 1. Austin 1. On my authority, retire badge number 9097 and hold Officer Jorge Pastore. TAC 66. 1042. Officer Jorge Pastore, badge number 9097, began his tour of duty on January 31st, 2020, and ended his tour of duty on November 11th, 2023, on the authority of Chief Robin J. Henderson of the Austin Police Department. Badge number 9097 is officially retired, and Officer Jorge Pastore is 1042. Rest easy, Officer Pastore. We'll take it from here. Godspeed, brother.
All officers, attend. officers, present. Out. All officers, order! Order! All officers, dismissed.
And that concludes our coverage for the funeral of Officer Jorge George Pastore. We'll have full coverage this evening and afternoon on KXAN as well as KXAN.com. And right now, we'll send you to NBC News Daily.